Slive. The fuck are you talking about? What the fuck is Slive?
No. Slove.
I don't know what you guys are even talking about.
He's using a Slavic word.
It's time for a little Funky Friday. From their funky hidden headquarters, your hosts, Keith and Gerry.
Bum, bum, bum. That's always such a jaunty little tune. It is Friday, and we're all funky. We got the funk. I say, shit, goddamn, get off your ass and jam. So, talking about some classic funk, man. I want some Parliament. So, I want to thank Tom again for doing the voiceover there on the intro. If you guys didn't catch it, I was on Midnight's Edge. Was that last night or Wednesday? I can't remember what night I was on there.
Wednesday.
That was fun.
You're getting invited on more and more. That's pretty awesome.
Well, I've got an open invitation over there. I hardly ever have any time. And I told Tom I really do need to start showing up on their show. So
they got a good thing going.
I do a lot of artwork, and some of the artwork I'm doing is for Midnight's Edge right now. I'm doing drawings of Andre and Tom that's going to be animated. That's all I'm going to say.
Nice.
Yeah.
Does it involve AI?
I doubt it. I'm assuming they're just going to do some animation based off the drawings. So, but here we are. It is Friday, another Friday. We got Admiral Teague is here with us, Deleted Scenes, and of course, Martine is here. Keith, my partner in crime, and Christopher Moonlight is here. What, Keith?
I said yo.
Oh, I was about to say, are you AI, Keith, now?
Yeah, that's it.
He's actually a famous cellist. Yo.
Zax is here. I'm going to be joining Zax next Wednesday. We're going to be talking about Masters of the Air.
And by the way,
hey, fuck you, Kyle.
There you go.
Sorry.
And going to be a fun time. Plus, I'm going to be doing Loki's show tonight with Snowdub.
Nice.
This evening. Be hanging out with those two. The only times I'm getting any backing for the book is when I do shows. So I'm going to try to do more shows.
Gotta do that hustle.
Plus, I like getting out there and hanging out with my friends. I'm terrified of. Keith knows this that public speaking and all that stuff. I'm not afraid of it, but people freak me out, and so I tend to just sort of disappear into the background.
And yet we are friends.
Yeah, and I do a show. Who's breathing heavy? It's turning me on.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm getting all stiff in my joints, or in one joint. I was hanging out with Anima for part of the morning. We watched the 5th episode of Masters of the Air today. Plus, we are officially now caught up with So Help Me Todd, which is absolutely one of my favorite comical detective shows going. It's so much fun watching that show. If you've not seen it, you should watch it. It's silly and it's fun. And they do the typical procedural crime thing where they guess who the killer is in each episode, and it's the wrong one going into the third act. And then during the third act, they discover, oh, it's not that person, it's this person. It's so stereotypical, but I still enjoy the crap out of it. That kid, I can't think of his name right now. He was on Zoe's Infinite Playlist, and he was on those movies. He was in the Pitch Perfect movies. He's got a hell of a singing voice, man. But he's also really freaking funny. He's, I don't know. He could easily be Fletch. I got to tell you. If he's a little more cynical in his behavior, he could absolutely be Fletch.
Erwin M. Fletcher.
I think there's a necessity for a certain amount of cynicism with that character. The actor has to be able to be somewhat cynical. I mean, do you think so, Keith?
If you're going to bring Gregory McDonald's famous character to life, you better be a little cynical.
You got to be a little cynical with that character. Chevy Chase so far has been the best version. Too bad he got old and became more of an asshole. But I think Bill Murray would have played a good version of him. He would have been drier.
Well, yeah. You know what? If Bill Murray had done it like back about 1978, 79, he would have been perfect.
Yeah. But anyway, we're all here to talk about a bunch of crap that went down this week. And, you know, all of our friends have talked about it ad nauseum this week. So it's really kind of hard to find a fresh look at what's been going on. I see that our thumbnail's not showing up on the video over on YouTube. Did you know that, Martin? It showed up earlier, but now it's not showing up.
StreamYards did that to me yesterday. Maybe it's StreamYards?
I don't know. That's really odd.
Mine was perfectly set
when
up.
I go to the page, it shows up, but when you look at the thumbnail for it on our main page, it doesn't show it. It's so freaking weird. I think it's YouTube. I got to be honest. I think it's YouTube this time. But anyway, welcome to the end of the week party that never ends for at least 2 hours. And today we're going to talk a little bit about, I don't know. I think we're all a little annoyed with Marvel, Sony, and Hollywood in general. The desexualization of females is just stupid. They want to, and they're doing this for the dumbest reason in the world, because of male gaze. Well, I got to tell you something. Gay women like to look at them too, dumbasses. They're so
Are
fucking
you talking
stupid.
about Madam Web, perhaps?
Clearly, Madam Web.
The cast looked great on the red carpet, but yeah.
Sweeney is probably the most bodacious of any of the women in that cast. And they either wrapped or digitally altered her breast line to make her look
They've
really
been doing
flat.
stuff like that in all this new stuff. Yep.
Well, they did it on James Gunn's. It's why I didn't want to watch James Gunn's last go at Marvel, because they desexualized what's her name?
Zoe Saldana?
No.
Nebula?
Oh, Nebula?
Nebula, thank you.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. They
made her look
do
like
that
a
on
fucking boy.
Strange New Worlds, too. They film them really unflatteringly, and they costume them badly, and they give them horrible haircuts.
And they're doing the same thing within Madam Web, giving them terrible costumes. She's running around in her street clothes. She clearly, in real life, has the largest knockers of any of those cast members.
It's clear to me that they want to show off. You see them on the red carpet. Those women chose those outfits.
Yeah, they can be sexy on the red carpet, but not in the movie. Think about that.
It's nice that they're not making the same mistake and going down the same path as Brie Larson, where they're like, you know what? Yeah, is that a personal attack? They're like, yeah, this movie might not be good. Look at how we look on this red carpet, though. And that became the story, that they're kind of okay. They learn something from other people's mistakes, it seems.
Yeah, it's just fucking ridiculous.
Well, you know what's really disturbing about this is that Amy Pascal and Sony still have that plan that they've been using since the very beginning. And with this actress who they've desexualized and pretty much just probably used AI to make her chest smaller, she would have been perfect as Felicia Harding. You know, and that's a character that they've been wanting to make a movie about.
You want to see
And
her look great? Check out those Stones video she's in.
oh, jeez.
Yeah, and here you go. I'm going to show you the photo of her. We all know what she looks like in real life. She's got double D's, okay? And this is her in the movie.
You know,
Well-
I don't notice good stuff. I simply choose to allow the art to flow over me. I am also a compulsive fucking liar, so
Deleted man. Comment of the day.
If they didn't want a bosom the woman, why cast her? Cast another girl. It would have been cheaper.
Keep her from being
just-
pretty somewhere
Yeah.
else.
And I'm going to show it to you again. Look at that. She is double D's. And does that look like a double D over there on the right?
no.
No, it's either been digitally altered or she's been wrapped.
Yes,
To the point where
she's
it's
double
high
deficient
I
there.
don't think they had the money for the first one. I think it's analog. She looks so beautiful in that Stones video, and they attacked her for that too. And she
It's
went ahead and said, "I planned out what I was going to wear and everything." She had to fight back for her right to even be in the video. It's a bad time to be pretty.
As far as digitally doing it, it's actually very inexpensive these days to digitally do it. I have open source free software that I could use to do that right now, or do the opposite. You know, it's like if I wanted to like go against a green screen shirtless and like digitally put some abs on myself, you know, like gain 20 pounds digitally, something like that. You know, it's like, unfortunately, there are no real abs at the moment. I'll work on those. But if I wanted to do it right now, I could, and the computer would track it. It wouldn't be like the old school days of CGI where you'd have to create a whole model and makeup and that sort of thing. You just kind of like say, you know, here's frame 1, give me frame 1 through 90, track this on, and you could reduce or add to anything, no problem. And I guarantee you, even if they did taper down, they probably did some of that as well. And God, how much they spend on it? Where is all this money going? It's going to bull like that.
It's fucking ridiculous. I got to be honest. It's so fucking stupid what they do.
And did you guys see Chris Gore and Alan Ing? They were reviewing some that
Yeah, I saw the
sensitivity
Chris was
read.
doing it.
Yeah,
Hey,
but-
if you get a chance to here, I
Look
want
at
you to see her.
Wow.
This is what she really looks like next
Dakota
to
Johnson's pretty
Dakota
hot, but
Johnson.
Almost
No,
fades
nothing
into the
compared to
background
Sweeney.
next to Sydney Sweeney. Yeah.
Sydney Sweeney is just a knockout in this dress.
it's like they've been waiting all this time to wear those outfits.
Yeah, here,
You know.
I found another photo of her. This one is
Based
a
on what I
three-quarter
just found
profile of her standing there at the red carpet. Look at this. And this is what they did to her. Same angle.
Doesn't she have another movie out? So she's
Real
trying to
woman.
look attractive?
Yes.
Altered-
and she
altered
looks like
woman.
a bomb.
I know she's not really here, but just
Um,
just in case she's watching.
It's a goal. It's a goal for you, Chris.
boss, Pat has a question for you. Well,
Hey, Pat. You know what? Hold on a second. Sydney Sweeney. It's one of my favorite things to do is look up nude photos of
If you
celebrities.
look for the moment, there's a
Oh
Rolling
my.
Stones video for
Right.
Anna. She's pretty naked. Well, she's pretty scantily clad, rather.
I found quite a few ones that she took at home too.
You sure they're real?
Yeah, this is real. I can always tell when it's been digitally altered. This
I'll
is
take that
her leaked photo of her. Good God, those are some monster pepperonis. That's all I'm going to tell you. It looks like somebody had a pepperoni with a crunch berry on top. That's what it looks like.
You say you'd like to take a trip to the Twin Cinemas of Sydney Sweeney?
Something like that.
Kingsport Hell, I am not real. I am just a story they tell to.
No, we digitally created Chris. Okay, we're going to tell the truth now. Keith and I created Chris Moonlight. He is AI, which is why he doesn't work correctly.
but He didn't know that.
Yeah. How can they not know what they are? Blade Runner 2019.
February. Chris, there's a tortoise lying on its back, and you're not helping it. Why aren't you helping it?
Because he's a
What's a
complete
tortoise?
bastard.
He's a complete right.
We really messed these replicants up.
I missed this. What was the King's Portugal's previous comment?
He said that I wasn't real. I said, of course I'm not real. I'm just a story they tell little kids to scare them.
Yes. Which is why he wears his headset back. She's all woman, maybe a woman and a half. So all I got to say is it's shameful what they're doing.
Well, especially since it's clear that, women do want to look beautiful. And when they're looking good and they know they're looking good,
Why bother looking pretty on the red carpet if you're not allowed to look your best in a film where you're supposed to be an action star?
Didn't it almost seem like they was happy to see each other while they were having fun instead of being like slave driven by the crazy people who made this movie? Which seems to have everyone's saying looks like it we've reshot a lot because there's like some takes they have effort and a lot of takes are checked out.
I mean, that could just come with shooting out of order and they getting more and more demoralized throughout the shoot.
I think a few people.
I tell you, if I found out they were doing that on purpose, it would demoralize me. That they're trying to make me look worse. So yes, it's true. I do look up nudes of celebrities, including Zac Efron, Tom Cruise, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. There's nothing wrong with that. Are you gay?
Nobody's judging you.
Tears and rain. That's right,
I
buddy.
may want to cast these people later on, and I need to know. It's just
hello,
Well,
how
who
far
doesn't
will
want to
you
see
go,
a
Gary?
Steph?
I'm the gay stunt performer. If you need gay sex, I stunt perform. So, any thoughts on this? What they're doing? What do you think the overall outcome of this is going to be? There's going to be blowback, and I'm sorry. I know that we are stuck with Amy Pascal on anything Spider-Man related, but she is not directly involved with Madam Web. She's not directly involved with anything that isn't Spider-Man. So who the fuck is other than the director? Because the director is absolutely a fourth wave feminist. We know her. She shouldn't be allowed anywhere near a director's chair ever. She's a terrible director. Tell me one winner she's directed.
This is the thing, and this might turn into a little bit of a rant, but
no way.
These people have been placed in these positions by others who are higher up, and the goal isn't to run things their way. The goal is to flood the industry with idiots that will collapse the industry because they believe the only thing to rule over something is to destroy it. There's that old song from Garbage, the band Garbage, Stupid Girl. The line I love is, you don't believe in anything you can't break. That's these people. So the idea is to just bring all this stupidity in there to the point where it breaks and it collapses. And that's their idea of being better than it.
Well, this is, something I said last night is with Bob Iger's destruction of Disney. He is destroying that company. When he lost, what was it, 1.3 million subscribers in a very short period of time to Disney Plus, did he look at as this? Well, we've gotten rid of them. Now all we can do is grow upward with the kind of clientele we want. Is that his fucking excuse?
Did a promotion end? Were they giving away Disney Plus with every purchase on a Black Friday? Are we three? Because
I'm
like
getting
3 months
Paramount
out from that.
Plus. Paramount's in
Paramount
such bad
Plus
shape.
is okay.
Hold
It's
on.
okay.
No, it's not. It's in trouble.
No,
Paramount
I mean the
Plus is in
programming.
so much trouble right now financially that they are giving away free Paramount accounts with your Walmart Plus account. That means I pay less per month for Paramount Plus than if I subscribe to him directly. And
Well,
I'm still getting all my deals through Walmart. It's just something they gave to me. I didn't ask for it. They gave it away for free. So look, Paramount's in trouble. Disney is in danger of complete collapse.
Well, I can tell you exactly what Iger was thinking. Exactly. There's no doubt in my mind. He doesn't care about the program. He doesn't care about the stock. He wanted to make a presidential bid, and he thought that he could come off as this virtuous, what do you call it? Like a, just, I don't know, like a folk hero or something like that, who was willing to destroy any company to be able to signal that he was the guy that was going to come in with all the great moral values, like he was John F. Kennedy or Martin Luther King or something like that, and screw the corporation, screw the investors, all that sort of thing. He thought he was going to ride that wave straight to the White House, and whatever trail of destruction he left behind him would be worth it in his mind and in the mind of whatever imaginary people he was virtue signaling to. The guy.
Well, this is exactly what I said on Midnight Edge the other night. I had said something right in the same area, that he thinks that he's going to get the White House. And here's why he's not going to get it. Because everybody is going to remember he is just the guy who destroyed a family business and alienated millions of families.
Well, this is that line that I love in Corpse Bride. I'm sorry, were things not going according to your plan?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly it. Now he's like out. He's out there. He did all this shit, and nothing worked out the way he thought, and he's panicking because he knows he looks like an asshole, and he knows his time's up. And the clock is running out. We can see that. I hope this investor voting thing. What is it? The white card, the green card, and the whatever to get people on the board. They are panicking, and I love it because they deserve it. Honestly, it's like I don't care saying that. I never want to work for Disney as long as it's in the shape it's in right now, because no matter how much money they would offer me to direct something, whatever, I know that came with the very definite possibility that midway through whatever deal I made for them they'd pull the rug out from under me and ruin my career for the rest of my life, like they've done for a bunch of other people. They've got no place else to go, and nobody wants anything to do with them because they see the writing on the wall. And and there's Elon Musk, like the sword of Damocles hanging himself over their heads. It's wonderful. I love it.
Well, Pat said, Disney may be too big to fail. And here's the reality of what Disney is. Disney is like its own country. I learned this back in the 2000s when I was doing some marketing for the security company that works for Disney. They're all former military. And when he was explaining to me how everything works there, I'm like, oh my God, they are their own country. They have their own military. They have everything. They have their own intelligence agency. They have everything. So they are their own country, Pat, and that's a fact. And they will exist in some form no matter what happens here. But the fact is, they can go into financial collapse. They'll still survive it, because someone will step in. Ike Perlmutter and what's his name?
Nelson Peltz.
Yeah, Nelson Peltz. Because I tell you, if Nelson Peltz steps in, Ike's going in with him. And it looks like Elon's going to throw some money at him too. And this could save them quicker.
He's embarrassing them in court very quickly, right?
Oh, yeah. Everybody goes up against Elon ends up just looking stupid.
Well,
a friend of mine said something yesterday, and I thought it was very interesting because I say leftist, and he says liberal. I said, no, they're leftists. He says, no, you have liberal and you have libtards. There's a difference. I said, then libtards are the same thing as leftists. You're just finding a new word for Leftists have embedded themselves in with the Liberal Party, the Democratic Party. But the fact is they're like ticks. They're stuck in there really good. Hard to get rid of them. They're doing huge damage to the Democratic Party. It's not even recognizable anymore.
Yeah, this is the difference between when people try and say that the X-Men is woke versus, actually they're just more liberal. When it comes to like the new X-Men animated thing. But I was going to say, as far as Elon Musk goes with the, leaking stuff, also sharing film threats, D files, and the whole deal with, and I'm not the first person to say this, but I recognize this when I saw what was happening. They're going, why is Gina Carano suing for so little? It's like, yeah, it's not actually about the money.
It's not for the money.
Yeah, it's for the receipts.
It's about something else. Yeah,
it's about getting it into Discovery and getting the receipts of what went on behind the scenes.
And when he says receipts, what he's talking about is the messages and emails.
Yeah,
because once those are shown to the light of day, people's heads are going to roll, and she knows that. And
not
Kathleen
only that,
Kennedy, what's her name? Shit, I forgot her name. The one that headed up the attack on her. A little bitch that used to work.
Headland?
Yes, thank you.
Leslie Headland. Yeah.
That's what's his name's former assistant. I'm blocking on his name now.
Harvey Weinstein.
Harvey Weinstein.
The Jew. No, I'm just kidding. I love
Say his name.
I'm Jewish. So.
Rob Zombie has a wonderful story about working with the Weinsteins. And when I say wonderful, just in terms of his account of what a nightmare they are, like, and how like proudly horrible people they were. It's like, I think Gina Carano is, people are going, oh, she doesn't have a case. So they're like trying to laugh, like, oh, now she's doing it. It's like, no, this is lawfare. This is, these people are coming up against someone who's finally interested in butting heads with them, who is smart enough and rich enough to do it. Again, it's like, it's only a matter of time. It's the phrase I love. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win.
Yeah, buddy. By the way, Loki just messaged me, so no show tonight.
Boo.
It'll be next Friday, not tonight. So, who booed?
I booed. Boo. No show.
Boo.
Chris is the nicest, meanest guy ever.
By the way, I had fun last night hanging out with the guys. I hung out with Christian Delorme, Brian, and more, talking about Rush, the rock band, discussing all their albums. Which, I told them technically my fan following ended in 1985 with Power Windows. And it just, that's it. I had all their music that I wanted, and I didn't need to go any further. I've heard a couple of songs they've done since then. I'm like, yeah, they're good, but I don't know. To me, everything ended in 85 with them.
Their drum kit is purdy.
Oh, ha, ha, ha. Now, I will tell you, I saw them live back in 86, and Neil Peart came out on that hydraulic drum set where his pedal would move him in circles, and he would play. He was completely surrounded by drums, and he played every single piece. It was amazing. I've never seen anything like that. Closest thing to that was when I went to see Van Halen live, and what's his name? The drummer Van Halen. He
Alex.
Eddie and Alex. Thank you. Alex was upside down when he came out, and they rotated him around while he was playing.
That's the latest sit and spin you've ever seen.
Yeah, Loki snuck in my back door.
They spun the Motley Crue guy around in circles a few times too when I saw them. But I think I saw that.
Thank you for the Canadian $2, and it was great hanging out with you, man. It really was. Need to do that again sometime. One, I love hanging out with Brian. He's like one of my besties. So we're just having a blast shitting on each other. It was just real fun. Gerry moved to what is this? Gerry moved to Canada. They are required to play Rush under radio 10% of all airtime. Look, I love our Canadian cousins, man. I love them. I would never fucking live there. Right now, their democracy is under attack from their own leader. He is trying to become a dictator, a penis potato.
Doing a good job.
Potato. Penis potato.
He's making good progress in those ends, actually.
Yes, he is, and I can't believe that Canada's letting him do this. Gerry taught him how to do that with his back door. What?
It's like it's in his blood, isn't it?
Well, yeah, he's the son of an amazing Cuban leader, communist. He looks like him too. It's ridiculous.
Oh, the resemblance is uncanny.
They're from the same
He looks
town.
nothing
as,
like
my
the man
family.
he claims that is his dad, who was an amazing leader.
They're from the same town as my family in Cuba. So if he manages to become a dictator, perhaps I'll.
That's
be
right. I
like a
forgot you're
friend.
Cubano.
Yes,
You are
I am.
Cubano.
It's easy to forget.
Yeah, I don't see you playing dominoes.
No.
If you're Cuban, you get that joke.
Exactly.
It's like when I was in Spain. I'd never seen people playing dominoes more than Cubans or the Spanish. One of the coolest things I ever saw was, I don't know what they were saying because I don't speak Spanish, was this guy named Ernesto, the owner of this hotel we stayed at in Malaga. And he had a bar, and in one corner of the bar, they had a table, and they were playing dominoes, him and three other Spaniards. And I don't know what was going on. All I know is he just kept banging his hand on the table every once in a while, and dominoes would go flying in the air. And I'm like, this must be the most awesome game ever. It's crazy.
It's like what happened to him? Oh, he's doing life over a game of dominoes. Went badly.
Exactly. What is this? Mark Center just messages me all the time with new stuff he's got. Ooh. What is this thing? Nowhere Man. What is that? Is that a TV series?
Nowhere with a K?
No. It's spelled Nowhere. Nowhere Man.
Well,
What's
it's a
he
little
doing?
song.
Greenwood thing?
Did he look up my IMDb? Because that's like one of the first jobs I worked on was a show called Nowhere Man in the 90s.
Yeah, Bruce Greenwood, right? Right?
Yeah, all I think of is the song Nowhere Man by John Lennon and Paul McCartney.
A real nowhere man.
Nowhere, man.
Here it is. Nowhere.
Sitting in his nowhere land.
Yeah, it's the 1990 series with Bruce Greenwood. God rest his soul.
Making all his nowhere plans.
So he just sent me
nobody.
a link to watch all of the episodes.
Okay, so that was the first show that I worked on when I was 19 years old. I got a job working briefly for a company called Inner Video, and we were doing the motion graphics for that show. And they, what was it? There was a photograph that we did Photoshop work on, and the photograph was like a clue to his lost memory. And the photograph was called Secret Agenda. And it would show up on this little device that was like a proto cell phone. It was like this digital thing that he had that he didn't know where he got it. And it had clues, but it became too expensive for the show. It was like an X-Files knockoff when X-Files was hot. They wanted to do something on, I think it was UPN, that catered to that audience. But the little electronic device that he had was becoming too expensive for the show's budget. So they wrote it in that he got frustrated with it and broke it. It didn't last too long. Yeah, on that show, I worked on that show for Inner Video, and I also worked on what was it? Safe House, a movie with Patrick Stewart.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah.
I did some motion graphics for that, some like stock market graphics. And that was the show I got to spend a day on the green screen set for Independence Day. I told you about that, right? So
yes, you did.
So yeah, it's either an amazing coincidence or he looked up my IMDb and wanted you to watch it. But either way, wow, flashback memories.
The wars
Well,
do not
he just
revolve
sent me the
around
link
you,
for
you know?
every episode to watch, so I'm going to check it out later. I'll check out your work. I'll give you a critique
Thanks.
later.
Yeah, Martin, I understand that this is part of the algorithm that you guys use to create me, is to make me think that everything relates back to me. So, you know,
Me.
I become self-aware. Me.
Told you he was AI. I warned you.
I'm
Speaking of
A-okay.
Sony, I'm
435,
I'm
Chris became
seeing
self-aware.
one Columbia picture at a cinema this year, Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. I'm hyped about that, and Paramount Sonic 3. I kind of like what I've seen from Knuckles, the new TV series they're going to be putting out. It looks good.
You know, Gerry, I meant to tell you, if you have that free month of Paramount, I wasn't trying to say that they were good financially.
No, it's free. Yeah. I don't ever have to pay for it.
You know what? Aside from New Trek, which is garbage, most of the stuff on there is actually pretty good.
No,
Yeah.
what you do,
You'll
and I
love
tell people,
Yellowstone.
here's what I told people. If you get Paramount Plus, you're not supporting bad Star Trek. In fact, this is your one opportunity to really put a hurt locker on them by subbing, going in there and selecting what you want to watch and refusing to watch anything from New Trek. Absolutely ends up in the algorithm and tells them something more tangible than us doing discussion on YouTube. You actually are telling them directly, I'm not interested in your fucking show.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it makes them try to push it harder. They've buried TOS deep down in the layer of shows. You got to dig through their nonsense to get there. But it does have stuff like, you will so love 1923. I am telling you, get up to episode 3. You won't be able to turn it off. Harrison Ford gives the best performance since Air Force One. You'll be
Anima
stunned.
and I have watched it. It's amazingly good. I got to be honest with you. I like the 1899 one too. It was a really good story.
1883?
1883, whatever it was.
Yeah. It's Tim McGraw.
I thought it was a very well done show. I thought it was a mistake to end it the way they did, but it was the natural direction where it was headed, especially with Sam Elliott's character.
It wasn't supposed to continue, right? I think they're bringing back that cast. Whoever's
I'm going to tell you right now, if they had gotten better numbers on it, it would have.
I heard they're filming 1883, or they're producing more 1883. I heard that they're going to try to do more.
We'll see.
1923.
Chris was in Life Force. He played the mummy vampire who kissed Patrick Stewart.
I wish. I love that movie. But it wasn't Patrick Stewart I wanted to kiss.
You just found out he's an AI. You're going to make him angry now?
I'm in your computer. Hey, a bit of interesting news in terms of the Trek stuff, though. And I don't know if this means anything, but I noticed that Bad Robot is hiring for visual effects artists.
I know. I won't fucking do it. They're looking for artists like me. And I looked at it and I told Anima about it and I said, I can't do it. I will never fucking work for them.
It's for their video game division. I didn't know they did video games, but
that's a different company, and they have disavowed the new Trek storyline. They said they can't help cross promote it and coordinate it with it, and their logo says 55 years of Star Trek, and like that's less than the actual amount. So they cut it off at some point from the new Trek.
Are they associated? Because I looked at the IMDb
used
listing.
to coordinate with them, but I do not think they're associated at all. But the new Trek people can steal the ship designs and stuff.
They're using the same Bad Robot logo as the Abrams Bad Robot.
They are, but I still won't work for them because it's still owned by J.J. Abrams.
Okay.
Here we go. I want to go into these comments here. One, Shinatsky brought up BBC Ghost series is pretty good. I got to tell you, all the way until they did a holiday finale, and everything they did in that previous final episode was undone. I won't even show it to Anima. It was so fucking bad. And somebody got in there, and I think it's because they needed to end the series because they wanted the American series to take over. And I just pissed what they did at the end of the BBC version of Ghosts. What a shitty ending. They really screwed those actors. To E. Clay Thompson, 1883 was really dark and depressing. I hated the ending. It was dark, it was depressing, but it was real and gritty, and I hated the ending too. I felt that I understood Sam Elliott. I understood that was where he was headed. But I did not like that they killed the star of the show, the narrator. And they even bring her voice in on the 1923 series. She's still narrating. She's fucking dead. And she's a ghost. I don't know. That's really weird. They did that.
Work for Sunset Boulevard, but
it worked for Sunset the way they did it, and it worked for the original series. But to bring her back for 1923 was really weird. She has nothing to do with that. But anyway, Anima had something to say here. We both got so annoyed with the ending when we watched it. Yeah. Let's see. It's okay if you despise what I love, including all the current Trek shows, especially my number one, Prodigy. My problem with Prodigy is it's not really Star Trek. It's I don't know what to call it.
It's too dangerous to allow the Star Trek extremists near.
But I understand, people enjoy the stories and stuff like that. But as a person that feels, because when you're a fan of Star Trek, you really do become kind of a gatekeeper to what is Star Trek and what isn't. And it's just not. Prodigy isn't Star Trek.
Is that the one that looks like Reboot in a way?
Yeah, it's kind of like Reboot, and it's these kids aren't part of Starfleet. They stole a starship to escape some bad situation, to find something, and it's like that all sounds like fun, but that's not Star Trek. That could be a subplot of a Star Trek episode, but it's not.
I gotta say though, it's funny. My personal relationship with Star Trek is a lot different than most fans, though. The only other Star Trek that I was able to get into outside of the original Shatner cast and crew was Voyager, which a lot of Star Trek fans don't like. Not that I don't think that Deep Space Nine isn't good. I just never got into it. I was never a fan of Next Generation. And oddly, I thought that the Abrams movies were fun. I don't like what they did for the series stuff, but it's like standalone, like here's a different cast, here's a different take. I was fine with it. I enjoyed it.
Okay. Grisco is corrupted.
You also have to understand. You also have to understand, though, the thing about the Abrams films is that they were made for people who were not fans of Star Trek. Okay, exactly. That is something that Abrams and his.
So we're going to take something with a huge fan base, but not make it for them.
Yeah, he was trying to bring in new people, and it worked for
You can bring in new people without shitting on the fan base.
Yeah, I don't think that those do shit on the fan base, though, because it did say, like, this is an alternate timeline, and that's kind of a Star Trek-y thing that has been done before with, like, the mirror universe and that sort of thing. In a way, when I saw it, it was kind of like, okay, here's a different take on Star Trek, but we've created an alternate time actually undoing anything. It's just, here's a different version. The problem that they ran with that into the different series and those were hot garbage, and then they tried to shove that down
they left
fans' throats.
They threw exploration to the floor. Is another thing they did. They also changed the dynamic of the character personalities, which bugged me.
The more they did, the less it worked.
Uhura wasn't Uhura. Look, I love Zoe Saldana. He's gorgeous in that part, but that was not Uhura. Spock was sort of Spock. And the only person who seemed to be consistently like James T. Kirk was James T. Kirk. Chris Pine did a fantastic job as Kirk.
I did really like...
he nailed it.
What's his name?
Although that version of Kirk, though, is missing several things. Because that version of Kirk doesn't have an older brother. That version of Kirk does not have the same elements to his background. He's a more streamlined, top version of the character made for people who don't either understand Star Trek or don't know Star Trek. Because that version of Kirk is almost a completely different person. He spent his
Agreed.
years in the academy in the Abrams version chasing women, when in actuality, Kirk, when he was in the academy, was a book nerd. You know,
Yeah.
he didn't start chasing
Exactly.
women. Technically, he didn't start chasing women until after his best friend died on the show. That was his whole
And
thing.
that-
He was a late bloomer when it came to that stuff.
Yeah, well, I always just took that as different circumstances, and these are young versions of the characters who haven't been kicked around enough to learn anything yet. But you know, it's again, it's like a different take, and the fact that they're trying to make another one, it's like, no, I don't need another one. You know, like I get it. You know, for me, it was a fun experiment. I still will default to my favorite, which is in my mind the true Star Trek trilogy is Wrath of Khan through Voyage Home, and those are the movies that will always be for me the quintessential Star Trek in cinema. You know, it doesn't bother me that there's this other stuff because I can kind of compartmentalize that. Just like I'm the biggest Aliens fan in the world, and I hate with a fiery passion every other Alien movie outside of Alien and Aliens. Aliens versus Predator, I consider a Predator movie, not an Alien movie.
It's a Predator film. It is not an Alien film.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, but again,
and I feel the same way, Chris. I don't like any of the Alien films after Aliens.
I mean, they're ridiculous. They're like really, really bad on a lot of levels. They don't make sense. They're corny. And they only get cornier. It's like like even Ridley Scott, who somehow managed to, and I think we've talked about this before, in wanting to own Aliens versus Predator. I mean, own as in like show them up. He just remade it beat for beat as Prometheus and didn't realize it because he didn't watch Alien versus Predator. But you know, it's like if I don't like something, I just ignore it. You know, it's like, but I understand there are fans that want to kind of like navigate back to what originally attracted it to them. And I don't think they're wrong in doing that. You know, going to X-Men 97, which isn't something that I watched. My love of X-Men came from the Mark Silvestri, Jim Lee days of X-Men, kind of just post Claremont. I did read the Claremont stuff as well, but I really got into the X-Men when it was like Jim Lee and Mark Silvestri. You know, but I see a lot of people who are a little younger than me that grew up with that version of the X-Men and love it a lot. You know, I see some knee-jerk reactions to it. You know, like I said, there's some difference between some people are going like, oh no, they're turning it woke, and other people are going like, X-Men was always woke. And I'm like, no. Really, the difference between what they call X-Men being more liberal, like you were saying before, versus being woke, is that the X-Men that we know and love comes from saying we all have differences, but we have more in common. And woke is kind of the opposite of that. Is our commonalities don't matter. It's our, you know, things like our skin color, our sexuality, and our gender that really have to be
identity politics.
Yeah. And that's, you know, again, woke, and people always like, oh, define woke. I'm like, it's easy. It's Marxism with the class struggle taken out and replaced with gender, sex, race, sexuality swapped in that place. And that's, you know, where I think a lot of people, and who knows what it's going to be like. It could be fine. You know, it's sometimes there's stuff that I watch and I think is really good, and maybe they sneak in a little bit here and there, something that they call woke. But for the most part, you know, they may nail it. I think that the animation that I saw really kind of looks like that 90s animation. The backgrounds kind of have some updates to how they're created. Oh, wait a minute. I got to read this comment. Shinosky, I got my own idea for Alien, but I doubt I'll ever get that chance. It won't involve AI making out with itself if I do. I wasn't making out with myself. But just to that comment, by the way, I may have written an alternative fan script to Alien 3. that one day I'll polish up and release. Might have done that, might not have. Who knows? I did think about using AI along with the footage of Alien 3 to maybe do a, like Dune did, the Spice Diver edit, like do a fan edit of Alien 3 that fixes a lot of the problems with it. But
every fan of Aliens got pissed because they killed Hicks and Newt.
Well, and it's funny because the fans of Alien 3, who I find cannot defend Alien 3 without attacking aliens and really nitpicking it in what I will call just very superficial ways, like trying to pick at the plot as if things don't make sense, when it just because they weren't fully explained doesn't mean they're not plausible, which I gotta credit my friend Chris Young, who was the one that's used that word, that plausibility term. But it's dumb to kill beloved characters off screen. Thematically, I consider Alien 3 patient zero for what franchises are suffering from today. It was the first movie, maybe besides the Ewok Adventure TV movies, that decided they were going to undo the last movie to reverse expectations. And from there on out, it started unraveling into all the franchises. It took some time, but that is essentially who I blame for what is being done to all the franchises now, or not who, but what. Alien 3's decision to kill off Newton Hicks wasn't actually David Fincher's. He was enthusiastic for it, but that was decided before he came in. But it was a dumb decision, especially to do it off screen in the way that they did. It wasn't necessary to the story. There isn't really a story. The characters are indistinguishable from one another. Their lines are interchangeable. They contradict themselves sometimes in the same scene. Ripley doesn't act like Ripley. It's not as scary as the first one. It's not as exciting as the second one. But there's a fan base for it. And David Fincher did say nobody hates it more than him. But I kind of think he brought it upon himself. I mean, are there things that I could say in favor of it as a movie? Some of the special effects are really cool. I even like the rod puppet, which is optically composited terribly, and people think it's bad CGI. It's not, it's a puppet. But yeah, there are ways to save that movie. It'd be a lot shorter movie, mercifully. And no, the director's cut isn't better. The assembly cut is not better. And then like Monkey Jeebus says, Terminator, like, even after James Cameron bagged on Alien 3, he, as a producer, allowed the exact same thing to happen in when he got the rights back to Terminator. So who knows what Kool-Aid he drank, because he's kind of flipped entirely from what his attitude towards cinema and what it used to be. But anyway, I didn't mean to go off on that tangent, Gary.
Well, it's okay. You brought up the other subject we want to talk about, which is X-Men 97.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not too impressed with it. I don't think the animation is anywhere near as good as it was in the 90s. They draw them differently. In fact, one of my biggest complaints is Rogue. They've masculinized her, making her less female, less feminine. They shrunk her ass, and they shrunk her breasts.
They made her into Brie Larson Rogue.
Yeah. But this is one I wanted to bring up because I had a good conversation with Andre about this, that I thought it was interesting what is in here. Not so much that this is any kind of great artwork. It's not. It's okay. But that we see the classic thing here. We see Reed and I just forgot her name.
Sue Storm.
Sue Storm. Being playful with each other. We see Johnny Storm there in the middle. But what's even more important is the magazine that he's holding, is a 1960s Life magazine. This is done in a 1960s style wash. The colors are very 1960s.
The furniture is
furniture
from the 60s.
is the 1960s. The astronaut suit is from the 1960s, and that's Ben Grimm in that photo, the actor playing Ben Grimm. And the logo for Marvel is loosely based on the Harvey logo from the 1960s. And that's the classic 1960s logo for the Fantastic Four. So I think the one thing that comes across from this as redeeming is that this is going to be a period piece when they do it.
That would
And
be
that's
kind
the
of
only
Yeah.
thing I think I get kind of excited about is that they go back to the 1960s.
But they have freaking Herbie. Mother freaker. I hate
Herbie.
that guy. Yeah, the
Herbie.
robot.
Oh, no, okay. The robot there on the left.
God
I'm just
damn it, I hate
worried,
it.
you know, I mean, I just can't. They've heard us so many times. Like, you know, it just.
They've tricked us, is what they've done.
I feel like an abused spouse.
Bait and
It's like,
switch.
baby, come back. I promise this time it'll be different. And then you get just like.
On the audience, it's like Renfield. I think he really means this time.
He wasn't that bad. I those movies they are regarded a little worse than they were. They weren't great though. I mean, I'm not really defending them, but they're even more poorly regarded than they actually were.
What
No,
ones you talking
no.
about?
The X-Men,
Fantastic Four.
the Fantastic
Oh.
Four movies we got in the early 2000s.
Oh, they were
No.
they tried to be as close to the comics as possible, but they
Yeah.
weren't very well done. I didn't enjoy them.
Well, I think they come
Agreed.
from a time too, like when it comes to Silver Surfer and Galacticus, it's like they come from a time where producers looked at something like Galacticus and went, no way audiences are going to take that seriously. And then we got like, you know, comic accurate Thor. And suddenly, yeah, it worked. But the fact that, you know, we're getting this and then we're getting, you know, the Deadpool trailer that instantly shows the TVA. It's like, then nothing's going to change.
I got to tell you, I don't look. That was going to happen. Anybody that thought that it wouldn't happen, I want my Deadpool without the. It's coming into Marvel, so it's going to happen. I'm okay with it, because it looks like he's at war with these fucking assholes.
I mean, we'll see what happens with it.
TVA is abjectly the most evil and powerful organization they've ever thrown out there, and I don't think they considered it well.
There was a lot of potential. Yeah, I agree. There was a lot of potential there. And I will say this. I did watch the first season of Loki, and I thought that Tom Hiddleston and what was that other actor? I'm blocking on it. But anyway,
Owen Wilson,
you know, they were fun to watch, which helped me to forget about how bad some of the other stuff was. I really did wince when they did the scene where he sits down with his female counterpart and goes, "You're amazing." I'm like, that's not Loki at all. But I feel like there was a good show in Loki. It just was also like, I don't know, maybe they dropped the script in with a bad version of Loki. But there was some potential there. There were just things that they did that were just dumb, like to nerf the Infinity Stones. That was stupid.
that was a really messed up scene that ruins one of the movies. And
It just
for a show that was
tosses them in a
shaky-
drawer.
Yeah, and we have dozens of them. It's like what happened with Black Widow is now totally unimportant for like 20 minutes into this show, and it's like, what the hell is going on here? And it just gets worse.
Yeah, and it does. It unfortunately it doesn't.
You
For
see
all
him
the
get
things about it that were fun, it does not redeem itself. And that if Deadpool can find a way to unscrew that, that would be great. And I gotta say, like I said, I'm not a big Deadpool fan, but I did laugh at that line. It's like, you seem to have soiled yourself while unconscious. And he says, I wasn't unconscious.
There are some great throwaway comical lines. And look, I expect good stuff from Ryan himself. When he's on the film, and that's what I'm going to be going to see. I'm going to see two things. One, Ryan Reynolds playing Deadpool is always fun. 2, Hugh fucking Jackman. Hugh Jackman is going to be great as Wolverine.
I'm excited to see the costume too. Like I loved that was Wolverine when I was a kid. You know, my gateway into comics, I've told this before, is that the comic like expanded universe of movies like Aliens, Predator, and Terminator that they did. But I'd be at the comic book store and I bought all those comics. There weren't many at the time. And the comic book guy at the, behind the counter was like, "What else do you like?" And I was like, "I don't know." And he's like, "How about Wolverine?" And it was the Larry Hama, Mark Silvestri Wolverine. And I freaking fell in love with that. And then that led to, I also picked up Hulk Ground Zero. And then I was like, wait, Wolverine and Hulk fight? That's awesome. And then that led me to, like I said, like becoming a big Mark Silvestri fan. I also discovered, Wolverine and Marvel Comics Presents through Sam Keith and Barry Windsor Smith doing Weapon X. So I have a real strong affection for Wolverine, and to finally see that costume after all this time, that's what I've been wanting.
I know,
the entire time.
They teased us with the first Logan film.
Yeah.
And I'm like, motherfuckers, you didn't do it. Here you go. I just found this. There we go. Pull the comment down from Shinatsky so you can see this. Clearly, the difference in drawing of Rogue.
I love that. There was a long time ago, there was a meme of that. And it's like, Apocalypse is here to destroy dad ass.
On the left, it's really artistic and pretty good. The one on the right is like, if I tried hard enough in about 4 or 5 hours, it could come pretty close, and I'm no artist.
She's got no badunkadunk.
If you know what that looks like to me? That looks like if you rig a CGI model poorly enough when they do anything like to squat or bend down or anything like that, the geometry of the roundness just like with a cheap Barbie doll knockoff, if you try and bend the legs, how the plastic just like buckles in on itself and becomes flat. That is probably what's happening there. Is they probably it might not just be intentional. Well, I'm sure it is intentional actually, but I think maybe they're using CGI models for the line work reference, and they're just using cheap ones that like buckle in when they do those angles. That's just speculation. I can't say for sure, but that's what it reminded me of when I saw it.
So it's once again, fourth wave feminism is very anti femininity.
If I can't be pretty, nobody will.
And it's really shocking.
Or if you just can't draw, in the case of that one frame we saw, it was only okay at best.
Well, once again, I saw the trailer. I wasn't impressed with the animation, the artwork.
I'm sure you guys are familiar with Comics Matter with your boy Zach. He is currently doing a fall of the comic book industry spreadsheet that he's crowdsourcing. He's telling people, like, if you can think of all the times that, cancel culture or whatever, all these things that led to the destruction of the comic book industry, he's like, I'm going to put them in a timeline in a spreadsheet. And when it's done, he's going to do like a poster of it that you can order, and he'll donate to, I think, a charity to support comic book stores or something like that. But one of the things that becomes apparent when you look at that spreadsheet, and on his channel, he's left a link to it in some of the videos, is there's a lot of male artists being like, Frank Cho being kicked off of books just because they draw like anatomically correct women. I'm not even talking about like bodacious women all the time, just anatomically correct.
Right.
Just
New Rogue looks like Timothy Chalamet in his Dune outfit.
I like that Alan Ing at Film Threat refers to him as America's
guys. It is that time of the show.
Ooh.
So,
go for it.
Yes.
Meet the Seattle Vigilante. Like so many comic heroes, this warrior hides his identity. But his identity isn't the only secret he has to keep. After grievous wounds received during combat, Tier 1 operator John Russell begins to recover and comes to terms with his new reality of being an amputee. And as he learns how to use his new prosthetic limb, he finds himself caught up in the bureaucratic red tape that too many wounded veterans experience, the exhausting medboard process. Out of sheer frustration, John takes it out on the criminal scum of the city. But when reality kicks in, John realizes he started something that's having an impact on the greater world around him, and thus has to reevaluate his motives. And moreover, just how far is John willing to go to finish this war he's declared against the criminals in Seattle? And will he even survive? From the creator of IDW's award-winning graphic novel Code Word Geronimo comes a new story about a different kind of warrior, Vindicated Inc., the first of its kind disabled veteran action hero comic. The Vindicated Inc. graphic novel crowdfunding campaign on fundmycomic.com is provided in the description of this video. We hope you become a contributor. Please share this link. Thank you.
We've broken 4K, and I expect to keep it going. Giggity, giggity.
That music gets me every time.
Yeah, I like that. Nefex is his name. He's on YouTube, and he has a lot of music available through the studio that you can add to your videos for free. And I like his music. I like his instrumentals, but I also like his voice. But I'm got to tell you, we did break the $4,000 mark. We've got to get a little higher to get Richard paid off. And I went back and here's what happened. I was trying to edit a script. You ever go to try to edit a script and then realize, fuck this, I'm just going to rewrite it? Because you get so frustrated in the editing process. Because the script originally based on my story written by a guy named Phil. I don't want to say his last name. He's still going to get credit in the book, but I just threw out his script. I just went, it is so clunky the way he wrote some of his dialogue and the way he did going back and forth on things. And I really hate that unless you've got a reason to keep flipping back and forth between two scenes. And there needs to be a balance. There needs to be a balance. That's why you're doing it. There needs to be something that connects the two. Otherwise, stop fucking doing it. And he was just doing it because it was a niche thing to do. And I'm reading it and I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'm so glad I fired him.
I am
because again, I fired him. I actually, said, you are not listening to me at all. I got angry when I got the scripts from him. And this was originally a prequel comic meant to be a standalone. But the fact is, I'm going back to my original story and just writing it based off of my story. Because it's a very simple, he spends way too much time on things that aren't important and then rushes through the stuff that's important. I'm like, you don't even understand how to tell a story correctly. So, and the basic premise is this. I'm not going to tell you what happens at the end, but I'm just going to tell you is that Rome and John, Rome is John's best friend. They serve together in their Tier 1 up unit. They're with the 75th Ranger Battalion, and they're part of the 145th, which you see, they talk about it in Call of Duty. They call it the 141. And it's in real life, it's 145. And it's a conglomerate of all the best Tier 1 groups from each branch, including in the UK. And I do believe Australia partakes in it too. And 145 is their group. These are all Tier 1 operators globally working together to destroy enemies around the world. And you'll hear stories about them, and and you won't even know it's about them. You'll hear, well, a facility in Iman collapsed today. Suspect is an earthquake. It's like, no, it wasn't. It was a team going in there and doing damage and destroying shit and killing people. And John and Rome, their primary job this one time is to go out and get a high value target. In the process of doing it, the family is home of this high value target, and they're told to capture. Fuck you, Janowski. I will say your fucking name. You do that again, motherfucker. Dick.
He's gonna spoil your name.
I will spoil the fuck out of your name. You goddamn right. Fucking tell me I'm spoiling. I said I'm not going to spoil it, dick. So all they're supposed to do is go capture this high value target, and something's wrong right at the beginning when they're told take the family too, and they're like, that's not part of the plan. Take the family too. Then they go to the drop off point and they meet a guy named Rollins, who's a very bad guy, and he tells them turn him over to me. And he goes, you're not even CIA. I'm not turning this over to you. You're fucking merc working for the CIA. And then they get ordered by their own talk to turn him over. And they're like, this is not procedure. They don't like what's going on. This is bad. And so they turn it over to him and walk away. They're told to just walk away. They get back. They drink a couple beers. They're not drunk or anything. They're just down in a couple of beers. And then they're like, John's like, fuck this shit. I'm not letting this happen. So, and the threat is that Rollins is wanting to do what's referred to as a field interrogation. And anybody who's in the military knows what a field interrogation means. That means it's off the reservation and no holds barred. And that's when people get tortured, is during field interrogations. And John frowns on that shit because he's not a by the book guy, but he's about honor. And so he goes to stop Rollins from torturing these people. And as he walks in, he finds that they've got the child, the son, the little boy, with a bag over his head in front of the father, trying to get the father to talk and give information up by torturing the son in front of him. And it ends up in a fight, and something happens, and you have to get the book to find out what the outcome of that fight is. And there are two outcomes from it that you learn. And it's important to the overall story arc of this fight between John and Rollins, as Rollins comes back into his life in the book. He's in Seattle, and John wants to know, why the fuck are you here?
That's the best description of the story so far that I've heard you give. That really is intriguing. That intrigues me. I like that a lot.
Look, every week since you were on the show, Lady Balefire brings it up all the time. People who don't know you are excited about it. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I am. I'm glad. And I do. I want to come back on next week. We're going to be on there on Wednesday. We're going to talk about Masters of the Air. And I got to tell you, man, I didn't think you could get much better than season 1 with Band of Brothers. And then season 2 came out. And my only complaint about season 2, The Pacific, was the fact that unlike the first season, you don't get to know the soldiers. You know, they go straight from being at home and then suddenly they're in Guadalcanal. There's no training to get to know them like you did in the first series. You got 2 episodes of them in training. And you get to know each character. And I like that. And I felt like that was the one thing missing. And it hurts me to say this, but the fact is the Pacific didn't do as well as Band of Brothers. It had problems. It was a good production, but it had problems with viewership. And it kind of tanked. And that is why HBO balked at doing Masters of the Air. What shocks me is they offered to HBO to do Masters of the Air for a cheaper budget, because it was $205 million, as I recall, for the Pacific, and they were wanting to do it for less. They go to Apple, and the budget. Go look at the budget. It's $245 million for Masters of the Air, and I'm still not completely satisfied with the visual effects, because it still looks like video game effects.
Just going back to your book, though, Gary, listening to you talk about Masters of the Air and knowing your passion for the military and listening to you talk about this book, I know it's going to be good, because the more you reveal, the more I can see that you've really gotten into the minutia of your story and want to get it just right. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be really good.
There's a scene in book 2 that has one of my favorite moments in it, where you get the classic John Woo moment where guns are locked open like that, but they're not really crossing arms. But it's a scene where one of the main bad guys and John are both empty. They've emptied their weapons. There's no clicking. They're automatic weapons. They're not semi-automatic weapons. They're called automatic weapons because they auto-load. I'm so fucking tired of people saying semi-automatic. Semi-automatic is a selection, not a fucking weapon. So anyway, and you can call them guns. I've gotten under, when I was in the Army, I made fun of a drill instructor for saying you can't, they're not guns, they're weapons. I said, so we don't call them submachine guns or machine guns anymore? And the dirty look I got from him was enough. He couldn't say anything. He just looked at me. And I went, okay, I'll be quiet. Because I corrected him. Because they are guns. Fucking idiots. But anyway, the scene is where they're faced off with these weapons and they're empty. And immediately you think like a Hollywood movie, which is he who reloads quick, mag dumps and reloads quicker wins, right? Wrong. A true combat person would turn the weapon itself into a weapon. And he tomahawks the guy in the fucking forehead with the pistol, killing him. The guy's busy trying to reload and he just fucking throws it at him, killing him.
So you're going to say that you're saying this book is going to be fun, is what you're saying.
There's fun violence in it. There's some, look, I've got such a dark, sick sense of humor that anybody who's gotten a chance to read the sneak peek has already read how dark my sense of humor can get with the scene between Gary, and John. And we didn't, I named the character Gerry because I thought it'd be funny to kill me in the book. And
wait, hold on a second. I just realized something. You were in the Army?
Just wait till you see what Gary and I are doing after. Me and Gary hate each other, but the sex is great. But it's just I'm so tired of how people always have this expectation from movies of what will happen. It's like, no, a real combat effective person will do what is ever necessary. And that's why I like in the movie Saving Private Ryan, when what's his name that we lost him last year, Tom Sizemore, runs out of ammo, throws his fucking pistol at the enemy.
And then the helmet.
And then his helmet. Everything's a fucking weapon. Bruce Lee taught us that. Environmental fighting. Whatever you can get your hands on. I love that in one of the Bourne films. I didn't think the fight scenes were choreographed as well as the first movie, but that fight scene where he turns a magazine into a weapon, that was fucking great because you can. You wad those things up, man. They're pretty lethal. You can kill somebody with a magazine.
I loved a comic artist. He did From Hell named Eddie Campbell, Scottish guy. For dickhead Alan Moore. That was a crazy book, though. Did you see how many panels there were per page? Oh yeah, they spent like a couple of decades on that. But he was doing another
6 to 8 panels a page.
He was showing me a painted comic that he did. It was a book about, it was without Alan Moore, but it was Pinkerton's detective book. And he showed me the scene that he was really happy with. It was a guy with a knife attacking a guy standing by a table, and there's a lemon on the table. And he's like, look, guy with knife attacks guy with lemon. Guy with lemon wins. Shoved it down his throat.
Yes, Jackie learned that. Environmental fighting is part of Jeet Kune Do, is using anything within hand's reach as a weapon. Not just defensive weapon, as an offensive weapon. But I wanted to go back to this. They tricked Gerry into making, what was this? They tricked Gerry. I'm fucking clicking on it, Martin. I'm going back to it. They tricked Gerry into making love to a camel by telling him it was necessary. That actually leads to a really great fucking military joke where this second lieutenant just joined this company, and he asked the first sergeant, he's like, yeah, what can I do to ingratiate myself on the men to where, they'll accept me more quickly? He says, well, I don't know. He says, well, is there something that the men like to do? He goes, well, every Friday, the men like to grab a camel and go to town. And he goes, oh, I could do that. So the next night, the officer sent a message for the first sergeant and the men to come into his tent. And they walk into his tent, and he's standing on a step ladder behind a camel, fucking the shit out of it. And the first sergeant says, "No, they get on them and ride into town."
But
Notice how he.
That was
used
an actual Gulf War joke. That was a joke that was told during the Gulf War, and it was told not by me, but a buddy of mine, to our new XO, who found it very unamusing.
Notice how he used that joke, but he didn't deny the statement.
I hate camels. I will tell you this. I will deny it by this. I despise camels because of being in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh.
Okay.
I fucking can't stand them. I don't like emus either. Or llamas. I'm sorry, llamas. Llamas. I don't like llamas. Any of those God, man, they're so gross.
Okay, let me run this.
By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
I showed my daughter Monty Python and the Holy Grail for the first time over Christmas. She absolutely loved it.
I'm a member of one of the fan groups where they go and find shooting locations for movies. And this one dude found the cave.
The cave of the rabbit?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. The rabbit with sharp, pointy teeth.
Oh, it's just a little bunny, is it? And not any afraid of it at all. No, it's got horrible fangs.
It's the most vile, disgusting creature.
Did you see that this week? That John Cleese finally admitted publicly of the disdain between him and Eric Idle.
To the surprise of no one.
No one. I knew that they didn't like each other. That there was a reason why Eric Idle tended to work alone on stuff, and Michael Palin and Terry Gilliam worked together, and John Cleese and the doctor that died first.
Chapman. Graham Chapman
and he were best friends and worked together on everything together. And then they would come together at a table and work together that way. Eric Idle didn't really get along with anybody.
I mean,
and
he always kind of struck me as no offense, but like him and Chevy Chase, I kind of put in the same camp of just insufferable in real life.
You kind of get that with John Cleese's remark this week about it. It's no big surprise. Never really liked the man. Like, thank you. Because he was shitting on Terry Gilliam's, or was it Terry Gilliam? Yeah, Terry Gilliam's daughter, because she's in charge of a lot of the estate. And while John Cleese, on the other hand, defended her.
Yeah, Cleese has always seemed more likable to me. I don't know. You just get that vibe. You're like, yeah, I wouldn't want to work with that person. Not Cleese.
Yeah, and I've always enjoyed Eric Idle's music and his lyrics, but he's a standalone guy. He's not a team player.
Yeah, I mean, he's very clever comedian, for sure. But yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, it just happens a lot with egos. There's so many examples you could find from it.
Well, yeah. And Tim, don't take this the wrong way that like I don't like Eric Idle. I like Eric Idle. I love the guy. I quote his songs all the time. Sit on my face and tell me that you love me. I mean, who doesn't love the Monty Python's Contractually Obligated album? That was great. I mean, that's where the band Toad the Wet Sprocket got their name. Because that's one of the names mentioned by the band that kept changing its name, rebranding, was Toad the Wet Sprocket. Came from.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I don't follow Terry Gilliam. I follow John Cleese. And the person, I got to tell you, John Cleese and Michael Palin are my two favorites from Monty Python. I just love those two. And that's why, when they got to work together and making the two films, Fish Called Wanda and Fierce Creatures, I was so tickled by that to see them working together.
You were tickled.
Yeah, old school state. Yeah, I was tickled pink. Now I know why. A lot of genius are asses. I mean, look at Gerry. Yeah, I'm prime example. That happens when you're smart.
Well, you mentioned Alan Moore as well. It's like Alan Moore has just become more and more insufferable.
My problem with him is his pomposity.
He's very,
you know, I don't mind his jerkness. It's his pomposity, because the way he treats his artists is just unacceptable.
I have gotten to hang out at Comic-Con with both Dave Gibbons and John Higgins.
He was amazing, dude.
They are such nice people and so talented. And, they're really passionate about what they do. You get them talking about, like, down to a panel, listening to you talk about your comic, like the same thing. Just talk about the characters, talk about the, coloring, like John Higgins, who colored Watchmen, like you open up a page and you'd be like, oh yeah, when I was coloring this bit, like he remembers it, likes talking about it. And it was nice because they recognized me from years of me visiting them at Comic Cons and that sort of thing. And like encouraged me to, like, I was like, oh, well, like, where you going? Like, hang out for a bit, that sort of thing. Like that friendly and no ego at all, just enthusiasm for what they do. And I know Alan Moore loves comic books as well, but yeah, he's become so pompous. And what really bothers me is it's completely unearned, because he refuses to engage anything beyond turning up, like what he hears from mainstream and the army of sycophants that surrounds him and tells him bullshit all the time that he just runs with. And I do, it's like at the same time, I kind of don't blame him for bailing out. He was, kind of one of the first people to be attacked by the Mean Girls cliques that started forming in comics. But yeah, brilliant writer, brilliant guy. He's completely missed the mark with his whole like Glycon god thing that, is just ridiculous. He says like, oh, instead of having a midlife crisis like most men, I decided to become a wizard. It's like, that's a midlife crisis if I ever heard of one.
Well, look, Alan Moore is mentally deranged, but that's so true about so many people that are that creative. But when you look at go back and look at all of his work, there's very little actual creation. It's taking other things and making it his. That's what
I mean, you could say that about Shakespeare, though. I mean, a lot of the plays he wrote were, what is it? Like Romeo and Juliet was
based on real people.
Not real people, but it's a classic.
Isadel
story.
And what's his name? Yeah.
I'm not thinking about it, but I mean, and he's had, what was it? I think in A Midsummer Night's Dream, the play that they put on is the original play that he based Romeo and Juliet on. My philosophy about creativity is like, we don't work in a vacuum. Everything's a remix. George Lucas with Star Wars was a mixture of Hidden Fortress and Dune and Flash Gordon and World War II fighter pilot movies that he liked. And, it's like you're taking bits from, what inspired you and putting it and remixing it. So I don't blame Moore for that. I don't think that's a lack of originality. A lack of originality is when you're just stealing from one place, or maybe,
Here's the thing, to act like you are original when that's what you've made your entire career on. That's my problem with him. And the thing that I hate about the way he treats his artists, he doesn't give them any room to do their job. He completely directs them. And then on top of that, then treats them like crap later, like he did Gibbons.
Yeah. And that's, his side of the story, I don't know, is dubious to me when he talks about some of that stuff, because he always seems to have a falling out with most of his artists. He didn't with Eddie Campbell, as far as I know, but I will say
that's the dude that did
From Hell. Yeah. And I love his
which
work.
By the way, is my favorite Alan Moore book.
I recommend, if you like that book and you like the art style of that, Eddie Campbell has like tomes this thick of autobiographical comics called Alec, which are very entertaining, very good read, very fun. But just talking about in terms of, I don't know, for me, creativity, it's like, yeah, there's nothing new under the sun. It's just, this kind of, like you said, this massive ego that kind of came out of it, thinking he's a wizard, thinking he's in touch with some, talking about being in touch with like demons and that sort of
and
thing.
his polyamorous lifestyle.
Which is, yeah, that's just kind of gross. But, well, I will say this, though. I have heard from Dave Gibbons and who's the other one that worked with him that I talked to? Howard Shakin. That Alan Moore will be very nuanced in what he wants. And was it the filmmaker he worked with, like, had to tell him, because he was giving like screen direction and camera moves in his script, and he was Mitch Jenkins. He's going like, no, Alan, you don't do that. You leave that to the director. And he said Alan Moore actually did back off of that. And Howard Shakin said he got.
But he got into the habit of doing that because if you've ever read one of his comics, this is my problem with him: is comic book artists are the directors of the comic, and he would do the same damn thing with the comic artists.
Oh yeah, but it's I think what I was going to say about Howard Shakin is he said he got like a script this thick and all this description and thumbnails and all that sort of thing. But then he said, he said in the letter to him that he got, he said, but if there's a way you want to do it that you think is better, go for it. And he said that Dave Gibbons told me that the artists that he doesn't go back to working with are the ones that follow everything he writes to the letter.
I'm going to tell you right now, that statement is dubious. If you think it's better, just sounds like ammunition for him to shoot it down later.
Oh, I love that word though, dubious.
Yeah, that's why I used it, because you used it, and I'm like, I'm going to throw it back at you.
Well, I think the artists that don't have the confidence to try something else if they get an idea are the ones that he doesn't want to work with. And he said Dave Gibbons is like, yeah, I get very specific instructions, but he said I would get ideas sometimes and go with them, and Alan would actually go and rewrite his script to fit what I drew. So this
which is absurd. Why would you do that?
Collaboration. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that if it works.
Unless it's going to change something forthcoming, I wouldn't change the script.
Well, that's another thing with how Alan Moore writes is actually very different than you would think. Eddie Campbell has a story about doing From Hell, where they wrote, they literally, not even a fax machine. Alan Moore, Eddie Campbell was living in England at the time too, would hire taxi cabs to deliver pages of script, and it would just be like 1 or 2 pages of script just to keep him drawing. And he said there was some scene where he wrote in somebody mentioning, I can't remember exactly, but it was like some bridge, and then they discovered historically that bridge hadn't been built yet. So instead of having him redraw those pages, he like came up with some story contrivance about why that bridge was mentioned. And they just like wrote it in and drew pages afterward to explain that mistake. I don't remember the exact story of it, but anyway, we're going off into the reeds here. What were we talking about? X-Men.
This is an area I like to talk about. So
yeah, but I mean, for all of that, still, we're talking about an era of comics where some of what we would consider then the worst comics are still better than what we're getting now, because at least back then a bad comic would still be readable. Now, I mean, I would love to have writers like Alan Moore or Grant Morrison or Pete Milligan or like any of these guys back writing comics than what we're getting at the moment. It's just, and again, I don't blame them for bugging out, because like, look at the state of entertainment, and are we going to get it back? Are we, I think there is hope though. I think we're going to get something back, because now, like we said before, the collapse of Disney, people like Elon Musk moving in, people have had enough. And I think they're going to start looking around going, where are the guys that are going to that are going to fix this. I think this, we hang in there long enough. I think there's going to be a place for us.
They
Like
drove
a real
most of them
place.
away. I do want to check. Keith, are you with us still? Because Keith wanted to talk about the birthday of Bruce Wayne and the anniversary that's coming up, but I don't think he's with us. I think he's either lost signal or just can't connect. So that's why he's a gray nipple.
Who's your favorite Batman? I mean, there's so many. I'm talking comic book Batman. Like artist era. What's the quintessential Batman comics that you just absolutely loved?
The ones I loved most were in the 70s with Denny O'Neil and oh my God, I just forgot his name. Let me go look it up real quick. 1970s. It was the Detective Comics of the 70s that really had me, happy. And the guy that drew, Man Bat and all that shit. And I'm trying to remember who the heck it was.
Neil Adams says.
Neil Adams, thank you, Neil Adams.
Oh well, Val Merrick talks about working for Neil Adams a lot.
Neil Adams' Batman was, in my opinion, and I'm not the only one who feels this way, was the best Batman run in the history of Batman. Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil. Now, Denny O'Neil made some mistakes with Wonder Woman and all that shit, but the fact is, he got Detective Comics right with Batman. He turned Batman into the detective. Drove around in that sleek little Batmobile that looked like something that the Saint would be driving.
What about you, deleted scenes? You with us still? No? I want to hear some. Martin, what's your favorite Batman era?
Oh, man. I didn't have access to all that.
No.
Yeah. Remember, I was in another country. Still, I'm in another country. My first contact with Batman was from TV.
The Adam West Batman?
66, yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's what I knew as a kid as well, because they were always doing syndicated reruns of that. When I got into comics.
And when we were kids, we didn't know that it was a comedy.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think they were trying to, at the time, it was hugely popular in that way. For me, I really loved, it's kind of a combo in my mind of when I did really started reading Batman, because I would get random Batman comics. Of course, my very favorite is Steve Rude and Dave Gibbons doing World's Finest, which was Batman and Superman together. And I still to this day think, man, if they got Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck to do that story on screen, it would be amazing. But I also really loved Kelly Jones's take on Batman, and he's still doing stuff for Batman. And then, of course, for me, as far as the story goes, just the era that it's not the comic book Batman, but Batman the animated series, just, mind-blowing, coming off the heels of Tim Burton's Batman, which I liked, but I wasn't wowed by. But, when they did
that was the single greatest live action or animated version of Batman is the one that was spun off of the Tim Burton films.
100%.
And I just loved that series, and I love going back and watching it every once in a while. I enjoyed some of the other Batman shows they did animated, but that one was it. Just what a great show. Let's see. I saw something I wanted to address. The Goon Squad absolutely inspired Monty Python.
Goon Squad. It was Spike Milligan, which
Peter
had
Sellers.
Yeah, of course, Peter Sellers. Spike Milligan, I always remember because he did these little books that were also what inspired John Lennon. When John Lennon did his little book, it was very Spike Milligan. Oh, I know what I want.
See the influence of Spike Milligan on them when they did Hard Day's Night and Help.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's
so much non sequitur humor.
So I mean, Hard Day's Night is a masterpiece. Help is fun too. Help is kind of like a more of a stoner movie.
There's a ring on my finger.
I can say no more. Say no more.
I love both films, but Hard Day's Night is the better of the two. It is.
I just love
I agree.
Paul's grandfather so much.
And it has a connection to Superman, which is the director, Dick Lester. The guy who directed those films directed Superman 2.
I did not know that.
He also did the Three Musketeer movies from the 70s.
Oh, Hard Day's Night is great.
What a horrible name, no, Dick Lester. What kind of Mo Lester are you? Well, I'm a Dick Lester.
It's still not as bad as the first director of photography on Aliens, whose name was Dick Bush.
That's pretty bad.
I wanted to
not acknowledged our chat. I need to kind of do that right now.
Absolutely. There's one more thing I want to talk about X-Men though, which is that I completely.
Let me do this real quick.
Yeah, do it.
Let me do this.
Do it.
We got Penny, Andy Morrow, Anima Confusa, Don Ranger Power, Shinatsky, War Monkey, Pat S, Scribe Light, Kingsport Cal, Monkey G-Bus, thank you, come again, Christian Delorme, the Peter Vickman fan site, aka Vickman's Girl, DJ with Action Grip, Darth Plato, Dragon Ruse, Parrot Head, Adega Outlaw, Das Wölfen. Would you like to touch my monkey, Das Wölfen? Yeah. Connie Cleary, FKHC 2005, aka Tim, Real Wade Nation Gaming, and I'm sure we're going to have a few more that pop in before the end.
Yes. Read by Nature just arrived.
Yeah, I said Read by Nature, didn't I?
So good to have you guys.
No, I didn't.
No.
Okay.
Well, you did now.
Yeah, I said it. Didn't realize Sellers was in the Goon Squad with Milligan. Yes, he was.
Oh, yeah.
It's where
he wasn't even
supposed.
The Pink Panther movies weren't really supposed to be focused on him either. He was just, a part in the first Pink Panther, and then he was so popular that the sequels move over to focusing on him.
And one film that they don't know is a sequel. It's a sidequel. Is Shot in the Dark, which was actually based off of an American stage play. And William Shatner got the lead in that on stage.
I remember that.
When Blake Edwards got a hold of it, he's like, this would be a really good use of Inspector Clouseau. And that's what he did. He adapted it as an Inspector Clouseau story when it originally wasn't. And so the film Shot in the Dark is one of my favorite Inspector Clouseau movies. The scene where she gradually begins to scream when they're naked because they go to a nude beach, and it just progressively gets worse with more people popping in and showing up and then getting stuck in traffic naked, is her losing her fucking mind in that scene is one of my favorite moments in movie history. Just how she did that, the gradual growth in panic and screaming. Just it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And Peter Sellers is just great as Inspector Clouseau.
Well, my favorite Peter Sellers gag of all time is in that, does your dog bite? No.
Yeah, I think that's the last one he did before he got sick and died. He's trying to find his former boss, Chief Inspector. I just forgot his name. Dreyfus, Inspector Dreyfus. And he stops at that Swiss hotel and he goes, does your dog bit? He goes, no, monsieur, my dog does not bit. And then he goes to pet the dog and the dog bites him. And he goes, I thought you said your dog does not bite. He says, that, monsieur, was not my dog.
I also like the nude beach thing. It's like, have you been swimming? Yes. How did you know? I am a detective. I know these things.
Oh my God. But anyway, I don't think we're going to get to the Batman anniversary thing. I don't think Keith is still here.
I just want to say, like, going back to the X-Men though, because this is something I forgot about. Is Professor X being dead? Like, Professor X can't get a break. He just can't. on screen.
Wanda
What
gave
is
him a
the
break.
point of that? Why did they kill him?
It's good to see Patrick Stewart die. People like it. It makes audiences happy.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why they killed him.
Again,
What's the point of him being dead?
In which movie? Because he gets it a few times.
well, he's dead in the trailer.
Yeah, he's dead already.
They got it right out of the
didn't die
way
in the series. He
Killed him in the
didn't
trailer.
die in the previous series. So why is he
He keeps
dead?
dying in the movies.
I just don't get it.
Yeah, I'm not like. I mean, I know Logan is a lot of people's favorite movie. It's not my thing. I don't like to see heroes.
I like it, but it's not an
It's
X-Men
only
movie to
okay.
me.
It's like I don't need to see them like humiliated like that. It's like I don't need to see Professor X, like Logan wiping Professor X's ass and all this sort of thing. It's like again,
he kills all the other X-Men by mistake.
yeah, and that's a little bit out of the was it Mark Millar did Mark Millar, but everyone says Millar did Old Man Logan, and there was in that it was and spoiler, but it was Wolverine that killed everybody because was it Mysterio created illusions. Yes. Causing him to think he was fighting intruders and he was just killing all the X-Men in the mansion. Really grim stuff. But again, it's kind of that deconstructionist, like, I just want to see the X-Men. Like, again, that Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri era of the X-Men. Let's do it. Again, it's just the people in charge of it. They don't want to do that. So,
but there's a difference because Old Man Logan is not canon.
Yeah, it's not. And but I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I mean, look, if they're using really bad science in Marvel, that their string theory is like that's not how string theory works. But with the string theory, the multi-universe thing, clearly Logan is in a different universe. That story of Logan, Old Man Logan, whatever you want to call it. So that's how they get away with that stuff. And that's, and I've loved that about DC because if it's not like an accurate story of Batman, well, then it's an Elseworld story.
And I don't mind
same
that.
Thing.
And that was my argument for the Abrams Star Trek movie. Same thing. Yet,
I agree with you, Monkey, because his senses are far beyond those of humans. So how would Mysterio be able to trick him? I just don't believe that's possible either.
Well,
not with illusions. They needed to
Visual
be
illusion
at
would
a mental level. Yeah.
Yeah, it's again, those are things that it's like it's plausible. So I'm not gonna knock it. But I did enjoy that story. And I thought that it was at the time of reading it, it was really edgy and fun. But
it's a modern Western.
Yeah, it definitely had that. I think they even kind of modeled him out. Oh, the dog's barking. Winston, shut up.
He's kind of Shane.
Yeah, I get that. No, I did like it. I just like with the Logan movie, it was just like, I don't know, it seemed too soon as well. It was like a huge leap. But a lot of people liked it. And again, it was kind of a comic book movie for people who don't like comic books. Same thing. There's a lot of people that I know that watched that movie that weren't really interested in X-Men Origins Wolverine or characters like Blob or any of those movies. So, it's just not, like I said, anyway, I want to see the X-Men. And in a way, it's like, yes, Hugh Jackman has really staked his claim in being Wolverine over the years, probably more so than any other actor, even Patrick Stewart being Professor X. But, it's like, I don't know, all these contrived ways, whether it be the TVA or the string theory or whatever it is, like I do kind of feel like, yeah, let it rest for a while and then give us like reintroduce the X-Men. And there's no need for any contrived explanation of why they're different, just like there was no reason for any contrived explanation why Batman kept changing actors or something like that. But I don't know.
And I will say this though, the X-Men animated series from the 90s, late 80s, early 90s was really, in my opinion, at the same level as the Batman animated series was. It did for the X-Men what the Batman animated series did for Batman. It gave it some legitimacy, brought you something that felt more comic accurate to the characters. And I love that series. And I just don't see them being able to pull that off with the new series.
I got to say, and this is something that's gone viral lately, but it really just kind of speaks to the quality of writing of that show was, you know, the reason it went viral is kind of a meme of saying modern animation would never do this, but it's Nightcrawler handing Wolverine a Bible after Wolverine's like, I just don't get you, you know? And really that was, I mean, Nightcrawler's faith is at the heart of his character, and to let individual characters in the X-Men kind of take center stage and really express who they are as a deep character. That's just, I mean, never mind that it's a religious thing. That's just good writing. You know, that's good characterization.
And I think really when it comes down to it, though, what we're all hoping for is to see a good representation of the actual X-Men that we all grew up and loved. And I just don't mean from the animated series. I mean from the comics, from the late 70s going into the 80s. The X-Men, that was when I read them. And I loved that version. And I'm not the only one. That's when the fan base grew for the X-Men.
Yeah.
Right in those years.
Show us.
And the majority of those fans are still alive today.
Well, you know, also it's like for the longest time, it was just geek stuff. And then it became popular and stuff like that is really showing, you know, the studio executives should take note of this. This is the stuff that makes them popular. And then they look at it and go, ew, why can't we do it without that? And then the reason becomes apparent because no one shows up for it. So.
Yeah, as long as while DEI is in plant, in place, I should say, being used by anything Marvel does, we can pretty much expect not to enjoy something fully. I expect to not fully enjoy Deadpool 3, but I enjoy Ryan Reynolds, and Ryan Reynolds will still deliver Deadpool. We'll still get some Deadpool in there that's good, but he's going to be surrounded by a bunch of stuff that's done by the current modern writers there. And I just don't expect it to be as good as Deadpool 2, and Deadpool 2 wasn't as good as Deadpool.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think that, again, you might as well call it not the DEI, but you might as well call it the fun police. You know,
the fun police.
That's what they are. They want everybody to be as miserable as they are. You know, they see something that's like, this is what makes it good. And they're like, that's what's got to go.
Yeah, and I've already heard it, by the way, the woke breaker is here, this general person. And the two things I've heard is that they're throwing gender politics into the X-Men already. And that Rogue is supposed to be, you know, one of those DEI characters, which is why they changed the way she looks.
Yeah, their Twitter account has, I think is it Morph? Do I have the name right? He's been changed to something else. He's non-binary. They tweet only on what I call God mode, no responses allowed. And it's like pretty freaking adversarial. They've already blocked a few people who are friends of ours just for asking them questions about, wait, what? Of that nature. Nothing even that bad. Just like, wait, what? And they're just blocking people. It's looking pretty
Vinkman's
bad.
girl said it too. Morph is non-binary. And this is a huge mistake, you know, that you're playing politics, social, you know, identity politics with something where it doesn't really belong.
It wasn't a very good.
The thing that's great about the X-Men is it can represent any outside group that's been mistreated. You don't have to make it any specific group. That's the thing. They're using what's referred to. I know this is difficult for some people to know this word. They're speaking in metaphor. The X-Men are a metaphor for every outsider that felt like they were, alienated because of who they were.
And again, saying that what I said before, it's saying we still have more in common than we do have differences. And
that's the point that Xavier was always pushing with Magneto. Is that why you're trying to kill them when we have more in common with them than we don't.
Mm-hmm.
But Magneto didn't want to listen. Yeah,
he didn't want to people.
Yep. So I guess we'll wrap it up here. I was hoping that Keith would be able to do his Batman thing because he wanted to talk about that pretty bad. Which is, this is the anniversary of it's 85 years of Batman, 85th anniversary, Bruce Wayne's birthday. So once again, I want to give kudos to Bill Finger. Bill Finger is the guy who did you see that cartoon this week?
I think I know the one you're talking about where
it's got Bill Finger and him sitting at their tables and they're both talking Batman.
The thought bubbles.
Yeah, the thought bubbles. And what's his name? It has one image of Batman, which is in the colorful with the mask and the winged cape, and that's bright yellow, and then you see Bill Finger with everything else that is Batman. And I'm like, yes, thank you. I love that people are finally catching on. I think people go after Stan Lee far more than he deserves to be gone after, because he did give credit where credit was due. He just didn't always give the full credit that he should have, like especially with Kirby. It's like I told you I had a run-in at Wizard down in New Orleans, right? Where this guy walks right past my daughter and me, and he yells at Stan Lee, who's about 15 feet from me, and yells at him and calls him, a thief and a phony. And I just turned to him and I said, hey, what have you created? Then who are you to complain about anything?
Yeah, people like that have got stuff going on in their lives that are bigger problems than that. It's ridiculous. I can really see Stan Lee's point of view in terms of just what producers do. They've got to.
Right.
He was like a producer. You've got to light a fire under people's asses and direct them and tell them what works and what doesn't. And from there. There really is a guiding hand in Stan Lee. He really did have a strong mind, and as you see, what the stuff that Jack Kirby did for DC when he went over there was good, but it wasn't as strong.
Nowhere as strong. And the worst part is anytime that Kirby was rushed, and you can always spot it in his artwork, that it hurt, especially with the inkers that he'd work with, depending on who inked for him. There's this one inker, I can't think of his name right now, just garbage inker, destroyed so much of it. He would erase shit that Kirby drew.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want to ink it. And I'm like, fuck off, man.
Yeah,
that's an asshole.
I knew someone that briefly inked for Kirby, but it was kind of when Kirby was in his decline mentally. He didn't work for him very long. He was like did punk rock zine stuff with a lot of stippling, and Kirby saw it and really liked it. But as soon as they got in the studio, it was just like not a good match, a good inker is worth their weight in gold for sure. It's but a good inker also isn't going to destroy the artwork out of laziness. That's just horrible to hear. But anyway, I'm going to
show you something real quick. This is a page of comic art that I did with Richard Bong, who's going to be working on Vindicated.
Oh, I love
this. This is from my book, Transmission. One page from it. And can we drop that real quick? Thanks, buddy. This is my inking over his pencils. This is why Richard and I like working together, because he likes the way I ink his artwork.
Nice. It looks
And
great. Yeah.
it's just so much fun to work together. I love working with Richard Bonk.
And
I rarely get a chance to ink other people's work because it's not something I ever wanted to do, be a tracer.
I'm a horrible inker, but I think it might be out of nervousness as well, because you have nice pencils. It's like pencils are beautiful to look at, but a good inker really brings them to life. That looks great. And
I'm going to tell you something about this page. That is Matt Best. He signed away a likeness agreement to be in the book from Black Rifle Coffee. That's Matt Best. That's I just forgot her first name. Damn it, Kay. She is an Emmy Award-winning soap opera actress. She signed her likeness agreement to be in the book. And that, of course, the guy with the mustache there in the far right, that's Dale Dye. He's in the book. And the young lady there with the 2 prosthetic arms is a real person. She lost her arms in a IED attack in Iraq in her Humvee.
Wow.
She's a combat veteran, and I met her, and I like you, man. Can I put you in my comic? He's like, yeah. So she's in the comic. And I like to do shit like that. Use real veterans.
That's fantastic.
Super sticker from Darius Munchausen.
Of course, it's a cup of coffee and a pear, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think he knows anything else.
Well, gentlemen, I know, Gary, you want to wrap up the show, but I actually have to get going. I'm working a late shift tonight, and I'm seeing more stuff come in. So I got to get focused on that. I've been working the entire time we've been talking, but there's some priority stuff. But I want to thank you as all. I know you say the door's always open, but I'm always grateful to be on the show. I always have a good time, and I'm really happy to see so many people in the chat that are longtime chatters. Happy
There's
Friday
page, by the way.
Hope everyone has a great weekend. So you all take care.
Thanks, buddy. See you later.
Take care.
This is another page of artwork from Transmission.
Bye,
this
my
is
friends.
where this is when they're on board the stealth Black Hawk. And again, my inking of Rich's work. I love his work, man. Damn, he's a good artist. And you know what? He'll say the same thing to me, but I'm like, I know you're lying a little bit.
So,
I am not a great artist. I'm an okay artist. So
you love
let's get some of
dick.
these. Let's Kinatsky with Back to the Back Door. These were highlighted. Let's see. The sad truth is that we have to look elsewhere to create our own entertainment, which is what we are doing. This is correct. Independent is really the only way to get your stuff out there. This show is going to be a disaster, referring to 97, but not just this show, because we're clearly a disaster. Yeah, and that's what Disney does. They are the great destroyer of good entertainment right now. It's okay, parallel economy all the way. And then, of course, Darius's super sticker. So I owe a couple of videos, so I guess I'll play a couple of videos here real quick. Let me look for something that's unusual for the thank yous that we haven't played in a while.
Sell crazy someplace else. We're all stocked up here.
I love that line. And let's see. We have at least one backdoor that I thought was
left. And if zombies do get in, Louise will protect us with her amazing archery skills.
Yeah, but we really don't know how to kill them yet. Maybe they love being shot by arrows. Maybe it's like a deep tissue massage for them.
Oh no, isn't there a back door? Should we barricade that?
It's steel and locked. I checked it.
a steely backdoor. And let's see. I don't remember this one, but here we go.
Let's go through the back door.
There we go. And I love this video.
I bet you like to read a lot too.
Print is dead.
Dead. That line. So is that enough thank yous and stuff?
I believe so.
Okay. All right. So let's get back to what everybody's saying out here. Yes, I agree. It's really good to see the Woke Breaker. This is the first time I've ever seen you. Welcome to the show. I hope you stick around. We love our fucking chat. Even Don Ranger Power. Fucking love him. Even though he likes stuff that I can't stand. I don't care, man. You love what you want. It's as I said, everybody loves shit. There's bad stuff out there I don't like. I mean that I like. I watch some really bad. I like Ed Wood's movies. I get a kick out of them. They're weird. They're so fucking weird. But anyway, that's it. Keith, I guess I don't know. We'll find a way for Keith maybe next Thursday to talk about the 85th anniversary. So let him do it then. Teague, thanks for being here, buddy. Deleted scenes as usual. I love you, Stephen. You're a good dude. Martin, you're all right. And of course, Keith, my partner in crime. With Keith, my partner in crime. I love you, buddy. Hope he's having he was having a rough week. And so he had to get out of town. Get the hell out of here, skedaddle. So everybody have a good Friday. Don't forget you got some other shows to watch tonight. Remember that I'm not going to be on Loki tonight. They're not doing the show tonight. It'll be next Friday, 7 p.m. Central Time, as I recall. I think that's when they start. And we will go live next Friday. So just have a good Friday. Go watch some Doomcock or Nerdrotic, man. They're always good. Anyway, hope everybody has a good Friday.
Watch me. I'm coming on later.
Okay, and Teague is going to be on.
Yeah,
I don't know why you would, because God, Fridays are very competitive.
That's it. Show's over.
That's right. Brian said it.
Dick.